So ladies and gentlemen, looking at solid iron play, you always have to look at how much head movement that you have. If we have too much lateral movement off the ball, it makes it extremely difficult to come over and get the left eye or the nose over the ball and cover the golf ball. Now for some of you guys that aren't that flexible and can't keep yourselves centered and moving off the ball, if you do and you can't help it, you've got to get yourself to come back. For a lot of guys, the barrel-chested, big guys, you know, often the flexibility is not there, so they'll have a little bit of movement off the ball. There's been a few champions like that, but it's always a good thing to come back over it and get your left eye over it or your nose over the ball at impact with your iron shots. I mean, the long iron shots are something different, but from your mid to your high iron. So when we get into doing practice swings and we're trying to stay as centered as we can, I mean, I have a touch of movement off the ball and then I'll come back onto it. But it's something that I'm always still trying to stay completely centered on it. So we'll hit one in there. It's very, very important for you guys in your self-analyzing to notice that, because if the head's too far back this way, sometimes people will head back this way, or they'll go back over in the backswing and tend to stay there. Your spine angle's just too far back, your center of mass, your middle point's too far back, and we're creating like tops a little bit, or thins, or just little fat shots, or just not compressing them correctly. So we'll get one in there. A lot of great players, I forgot to mention, I'll just mention it now. A lot of great players, what they'll do is actually they'll have their heads slightly further forwards than where they were at address position, especially with their higher iron shots. So if you do have a little bit of that, it's definitely not a bad thing. All right, so we'll just get a line up the side of my head here. Okay, so a nice compressed shot. You'll probably see there that there wasn't a lot of movement with the head, and the center is then over the ball. The ball's not moving around, guys. Why should we? Okay, so keep an eye on that in yourself analyzing, and it's a very, very important thing for solid iron play. So ladies and gentlemen, let's now have a look at the head position. We're looking at the front view here with the iron shots, and this is an important area, guys, to give you a gauge on what you're doing in your swings, and when you're filming your swings, or when you're analyzing your swings, or uploading your swings into our system. So generally speaking, if you're flexible enough, you'll be trying not to move off the ball. That means move your head too far to the left or to the right, or we could say over the trail foot. So when the head moves too far in this direction, we do have some troubles getting back to impact, because we'd like to get our head back to a very centered position at impact, or even slightly further forwards than what we started with an iron. So we can see here, now that's a very centered head. Obviously we need some flexibility with that, and you'll see that a lot of professionals will be just slightly further forwards at impact with their head than what they started with at address. Not all the time, but you do see it more often than than you would not, especially with your mid to high irons, right? So in that way you're trying to get this, your nose or the left eye to cover the golf ball. And if you're getting close to that position, getting close to getting that eye slightly over the ball there, you're in a good spot. So this is something to notice. There are, obviously we can see some movement downwards with the heads that we see a lot with advanced players. You're going to see just about all of the tour pros around the world. I think the average is something like 3 to 4 inches on the way down. So we're going to see, you'll see movement always moving downwards, and if you have that in your swing naturally, you keep it in there. And but it's not perhaps something that you can go out on the golf course and really think about, but you're going to see people, and you have done, the best ball strikers. It's one of the hallmarks of great hitting. When we look at some of the club golfers, and when we look at some of the aging golfers, perhaps here when we're swinging back, it's definitely okay to have some movement off the ball if we don't perhaps have the flexibility. So we'll see this example here. Here's a golfer in his 60s for quite a low handicap,
and you'll see that he moves his head off the ball. But what's interesting here, guys, is you'll see that, if I get a circle around this, because we want to get back to impact and be just about in the exact same position. So he's off the ball to help him get a bit more turn, a bit more arm swing perhaps, take a little bit of pressure off the spine, and then he moves himself back, and at impact he gets back to where he started at, or perhaps even slightly further forwards, and he's able to get his center point over the golf ball and still create some shaft lean and through into a nice finish. So just something for you guys to look out for when you're having a look at your swing. It's extremely difficult or almost impossible to get compression, to get shaft lean, if the body is not moving, especially the shoulder, some of it moving through this line that we draw up the side of the ankle called the wall. So if you're moving off the ball and staying back, it's really going to affect the amount of shaft lean that you have at impact. It's going to make your hit shots fat, hit shots thin, have some weak flighted shots, adding artificial loft to the face and things like that. So guys, if you are moving off the ball, please move back onto it, or try and keep yourself very centered in your golf swing throughout the ball with your head. It's one of the hallmarks of great iron play and great golf shots.